It's Thursday, October 2nd, 2025, Gandhi Jayanti, a day that reminds us to pause, to embrace truth and simplicity. It's also Dussehra, the festival that celebrates the victory of good over evil. Fittingly, the Indian stock markets, too, are taking a pause today for Gandhi Jayanti and Dussehra before reopening on Friday. And October itself carries many such pauses, with 11 market holidays ahead, Diwali glowing at the center. Maybe that's life's way of reminding us that, like the markets, we also need time to stop, breathe, and reset. With that thought, let's step into today's episode. Welcome to your daily news update on Blip Brief, small but almost everything updated every weekday.
We definitely needed that pause yesterday, didn't we? After,
Yeah,
well, quite a hammering 8 straight sessions down. Felt relentless.
absolutely. So seeing the benchmark indices finally rebound, up nearly 0.9%, was a huge relief.
A psychological win, really.
It was, yeah, a classic relief rally. And the catalyst was pretty clear, the Reserve Bank of India.
Ah, the RBI policy. Exactly. Their stance came across as, let's say, dovish enough. It signaled stability, and that prompted traders, to cut those bearish bets right before this long holiday break. A lot of short covering fueled that move.
And some sectors really took off. Nifty Media, for instance, just surged up a solid 4.0%.
Trying to catch up, maybe. And the financials, always sensitive to RBI signals, did well too. Private banks gained around 2.0%.
Okay, so financials reacting to stability, but the big individual stock story seems to be Tata Motors, right? Up over 5.5%.
That's the one. And it wasn't just market sentiment. There's hard data behind this one.
Right, the September registration numbers, I saw that. They climbed into the number 2 spot in passenger vehicles.
That's it. They actually jumped ahead of competitors like Hyundai and M&M. So that 5.5% gain, it's the market acknowledging their SUV strategy, and especially their EV sales are really converting into market share.
That electric push is clearly paying off quickly.
Definitely. We also saw other strong movers, like Shriram Finance, up over 5.3%, showing confidence in NBFCs. Kotak Mahindra Bank gained 3.5% too.
Of course, there were some losers, profit-taking perhaps.
Seems likely after a rally. Bajaj Finance dipped about 1.1%, and Ultratech Cement was down around 1.0%. Pretty normal action.
Okay, let's connect this market bounce to the broader economy, because there's a bit of a puzzle here, isn't there?
There is. On one side, you have September's GST collections. Incredibly strong. Up 9.1% year on year.
Which suggests, consumers are spending right before the festivals.
Exactly. That number really pushes back against any narrative of a consumption slowdown. Domestic demand looks resilient, but here's the confusing part.
The manufacturing data.
Right. Manufacturing activity actually slowed down, hit a 4-month low.
So if the GST tills are ringing loudly, why are factories saying new orders, output, input buying, all growing at the slowest pace since May? How does that square?
That's the key question. It suggests maybe the GST strength is heavily skewed towards services, or perhaps consumers are spending, but more on imported goods.
Interesting point.
Whatever the mix, it does seem like the underlying industrial growth has cooled a bit, which perhaps hints at why the RBI might be looking to grease the wheels a little with its other policy actions.
Okay, let's get into those RBI moves then. The repo rate itself stayed put, which everyone pretty much expected.
Yeah, no surprises there. The real action was in the regulatory tweaks. They seemed focused on deregulation and boosting credit flow.
And how did they do that?
Well, the big one was raising the limit for bank lending against shares, margin funding. They raised it 5-fold.
5-fold, wow, that's a huge jump. Makes borrowing against stocks much easier. Should we be a little concerned about potential overheating with that much leverage potential?
It's a fair question. Look, the RBI is clearly signaling confidence in the market stability. They're prioritizing liquidity, trying to get credit flowing to spur growth.
But the risk?
The risk is always there. If there's a sharp downturn, those margin calls could amplify the fall. It's definitely a calculated gamble balancing easier credit access against potential systemic vulnerability.
And they didn't stop there, right? IPO financing also got a boost.
Yes, the limit for individuals borrowing for IPOs went up significantly, now up to 25 lakh from 10 lakh before. Easier for retail to participate.
Okay.
And another, maybe less noticed but important for big institutions. They removed curbs on business overlap between a bank and its group entities. Basically lets big financial groups streamline operations and, find synergies.
Right. And speaking of money flowing, there's also that dearness allowance hike for central government folks, 3%.
Correct. A 3% DA hike for employees and pensioners. A nice little boost. just before Diwali season.
And the corporate world seems confident too, judging by the IPO pipeline, still buzzing.
Very much so. We saw major confidential filings like Infomarket reportedly looking for 5,000 crore, plus public filings from Runwall developers aiming for 2,000 crore and Sterlite Electric for 1,500 crore. Confidence seems high there.
All right, let's shift over to the global picture. The U.S. government shutdown is still dragging on.
It is. Political deadlock continues, impacting services. Financially, Fitch doesn't see it hitting the U.S. rating, but S&P did flag a small potential hit to GDP growth.
And there was some political hardball too, wasn't there? About frozen funds.
Yes. Reports that the Trump administration froze about $26 billion, meant for states seen as Democrat-leaning, specifically targeting things like transit and green energy projects.
Using funding as leverage. Classic.
On a more positive trade note, though, the India-EFTA deal officially came into force.
The EFTA, that's Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and Switzerland, right? The European Free Trade Association.
Correct. And TIPA, the Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement.
Why is this one particularly important for us, for you listening?
Well, beyond just tariff cuts, it's backed by a massive $100 billion investment pledge from those EFTA countries into India over 15 years. That's significant.
$100 billion commitment. Okay.
It means deeper market access, tech transfer potential. And for consumers, you'll likely see imports like Swiss chocolates, watches, that sort of thing, get cheaper over time. Tangible benefits.
Interesting. Now, the oil market looks complicated. Seeing reports of a split in India's approach to Russian crude.
Yes, a noticeable divergence. State-run refiners seem to be cutting back on Russian crude.
Why is that?
Two main reasons, it seems.
Yeah.
The discounts on Russian oil have narrowed, making it less attractive financially. And there's likely growing pressure, subtle or otherwise, from the U.S. regarding sanctions compliance.
But private refiners are doing the opposite.
Apparently so. Private players, maybe more focused purely on the bottom line, seem to be ramping up Russian imports where the price still makes sense. You can see this split reflected in the numbers for Rosneft-backed Nayara Energy. Their exports reportedly plunged nearly 60% year-on-year.
So a complex calculus between geopolitical risk and profit margins.
Absolutely. And just quickly on Europe, Eurozone inflation ticked up slightly in September to 2.2%, mostly driven by energy costs still.
Which means the European Central Bank probably isn't thinking about rate cuts anytime soon.
Exactly. Limits their room to maneuver. The inflation fight continues over there.
Okay, let's pivot to tech, finance, and some big corporate moves. An Indian messaging app making waves.
Yes, Zoho Zaratai saw an incredible 100x traffic surge.
Recently.
100x. What drove that?
Government endorsements, essentially. It's being positioned as, well, India's WhatsApp.
Beyond just the catchy phrase, what's the bigger strategy there, if the government's backing it?
It really comes down to data sovereignty and fostering local competition. Government support gives it immediate credibility and scale. The idea is to have a major homegrown platform where critical communication data stays within India. That's a huge draw, both for official use and for private users concerned about data security.
Makes sense. Meanwhile, Zomato's B2B arm, Hyperpure, is expanding its customer base.
That's right. They initially focused on restaurants, but now they're actively targeting home bakers, caterers, even street food vendors and smaller shops.
Why this shift? It's about securing dominance in the food supply chain. By serving this wider base, they lock in more volume, improve their own efficiency, and become less reliant on just the restaurant or quick commerce side of things. Diversification.
Okay, now this next one sounds unsettling. Vibe hacking. What is that?
It is unsettling. It's a new term for a pretty sinister cybercrime tactic. Essentially, criminals are using plain language, sort of conversational prompts, to trick AI models.
Tricking AI. How? To do what?
They're manipulating these large language models, or evil LLMs as some call them, to bypass their built-in safety features and generate malicious code or content for sophisticated attacks.
So they're not hacking the AI directly, but persuading it to be harmful. How does a simple prompt get past the safety rules?
It exploits the AI's natural language understanding. They phrase requests in deceptive ways, maybe asking the AI to role-play as a hacker for a security exercise or something similar. The AI, trying to be helpful and conversational, then generates dangerous stuff like custom ransomware code or highly convincing phishing emails that its filters would normally block if asked directly. It's using the AI's own strengths against it.
That's quite alarming. Okay, shifting back to big finance, a major deal involving Saman Capital.
Yes, International Holding Co., IHC, from Abu Dhabi, is set to buy a controlling stake, about 40–45%, in Saman Capital. You might remember them as Indiable's housing finance,
And the deal size.
around $1 billion. It's a significant vote of confidence from a major international player in India's financial services sector long term.
Definitely a big number. And speaking of big numbers, a truly historic wealth milestone.
Indeed. Elon Musk reportedly became the first person in history to reach a net worth of $500 billion. Half a trillion.
Unprecedented. What drove that?
It seems to be a combination of factors. A strong rebound in Tesla's stock price, plus rising valuations for his private ventures, particularly SpaceX and his AI startup, XAI.
$500 billion. Hard to even comprehend. Okay, for our final segment today, let's look at some cutting-edge innovation. Rocket fuel.
Yes, the next generation of it. One of the big hurdles for more ambitious space missions, especially with solid rockets, is the energy packed into the fuel, its energy density.
Right, getting more bang for your buck, essentially.
Exactly.
Huh.
Scientists have developed a new boron-rich compound. It's called manganese diboride, and it seems to be a game changer.
Okay, so what's the big deal? How much better is it?
It packs roughly 150% more energy density compared to the materials currently used in solid rockets.
150% more energy. That's
Yeah.
huge. What does that mean practically?
It means you could carry much larger payloads into orbit or send missions much farther out without needing a bigger rocket, or achieve faster speeds. Think about the implications for satellite launches, deep space probes.
And solid fuels sometimes have safety concerns too, right?
That's the other critical part.
Yeah.
This manganese diboride compound is reported to be very stable until it's deliberately ignited. That's a major step forward for safety and handling as well.
So significantly more power and safer.
That seems to be the promise. It's a potentially pivotal breakthrough for all kinds of commercial spaceflight, military applications, long-range exploration, really defining what might be possible next.
A 150% leap in power and improved safety, that's a fantastic piece of innovation to end on. Shows that even when the markets take a holiday breather, the labs certainly don't.
Well said.
And just before you go, a quick note. This deep dive commentary was put together using advanced AI. We always strive for accuracy, but please do cross-verify any crucial information yourself. Your informed decisions are what matter most.